So if you were to plant a bamboo seed today and start watering it every single day, and you looked up in 5 years' time and nothing has happened, guess what? Time to quit. But then you turn around as you're walking away from what you just quit from, the other version of you didn't quit. That next day, over the next 6 weeks, after 5 years, over the next 6 weeks, that bamboo will grow 90 feet. So did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet over 5 years and 6 weeks? Today we're talking about leveling up 0.01%. If you times 0.01% by 365 days a year, it's 36%. So imagine you improved 36% in 1 year in whatever area, one area, all the areas, over 10 years. For, let's say you're 20 going into 30 going into 40, you would have improved 365% technically. And actually, it would be a lot more than that because of the compound interest. I'll let you guys do the math on that. But let's just say it's a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that bamboo story was so valuable because there's no difference between human beings and how the process of that tree gets there, where you just don't see any progress for so long. You're watering, you're practicing, you're doing all the things every single day, and nothing is happening. The frustration kicks in, your patience is tested. How many times have you quit long before the fruit of your labor is produced? And I just thought it was so appropriate. So today, I think this is the most important thing. It's probably the soul of what it is, Level Up and Live, is that me and Sean have always talked about for over 100 episodes, for over a year on this podcast. Everything we live and breathe over more than a decade since me and Sean have known each other.
Yeah.
This is it. This is it right here. This is what produces progress. This is what produces results. So we're going to talk about it today. And let's jump in, man. Did you know that about the bamboo?
I did not, man. Learn
Pretty
something
cool.
new every day.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. I learned
cool
that
story.
here recently, and I was like, oh man,
That's
is
brilliant.
unbelievable.
Great analogy too. And what I heard you say out of that story, and then what you shared in the opening in this episode today, because I'm super excited about this, because man, I have just failed forward, and simply on these episodes, I know me and you, we're just learning along the way, and we're sharing it with our community at Level Up and Live, and on what's worked and what hasn't worked. And one of the things that I heard you say in there, and I'll put my paraphrase to it, is consistency over intensity. Let me repeat that. Consistency over intensity. For so many years, I didn't develop a long-term mindset. I wanted the here in the now. I wanted the short-term pleasure. And what I would encourage the younger version of myself listening to this is understand that to focus on the daily progress rather than the huge, unsustainable efforts. And for me, Ewan, I was out of the gates every single morning, 24/7, a million miles an hour, pedal to the gas, just non-stop. And I never shut my brain off to rest and recover and come back stronger. And we talk about this on going slow to go fast. So understanding that consistency, that 0.01% over every single day leads to that 36% a year, will allow you to not only endure the process and the journey, but also not burn out. And it will allow you to be sustainable. So when I started my first business, and I started running that congruent with exercising because I knew that was important. Well, how I did one thing is how I did everything. I started the morning every day, pedal to the metal, just grinding, just hustling. And I did that in these other areas of life and exercising in competitions. And I soon realized when I started showing up at the office and I started showing up in my exercise, I am maxed out right now. I am pedaled to the metal. I'm expecting these results right now. And sure, I'm making progress, but this is just not going to be sustainable. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling fatigued. I would show up to the office several times a year, sleeping underneath the office desk because of migraines, because I wasn't eating correctly, because I wasn't focusing on my nutrition, because I was trying to just get the fastest thing out there. McDonald's, Cane's, Whataburger. And in exercising, I never understood the slowing down. I just went 60 minutes hard, heart rate at 170. And that's how it's showing up in my business. Well, the problem with that is it's just not sustainable. The intensity doing that over a long term, you will eventually burn out like I did. You will pick your head up because you haven't reflected on what it is who you're trying to become and what you're trying to accomplish because your head's in the sand, because my intensity was so high. And boy, did I make a huge mistake and huge failure in that first 7 years because I didn't understand the concept and the principle of the 0.01% every day and working to tweak that and make adjustments versus the here and the now. I got to have it now. I've got to go all in now. I got to be full force now. It just wasn't sustainable.
I think, and here's the sneaky part: all that produced results. In that steamboat, like that power engine that drives you, it does get results, and it feels great, and it feels like you're getting there faster, and it might even get you there faster.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mm, mm, mm. Yes. Mm. It's funny you say that because I don't know, probably 3 years ago when I hit that wall, when I hit that cog in the wheel, that hamster wheel, I think I had said several comments that I wanted a tattoo that said Zone Five. But we both know what Zone Five leads to: a quick downward spiral really quickly. But this also, yes, yeah, it's good to have those. But this leads me to everything that we're saying along that journey of 0.01% better every day. One of the things that I've realized that along that journey, Ewan, is we're going to have setbacks. We're going to have plateaus. We're going to get stagnant. We're going to have failures along the way. And so I think from my own life, I've learned from these setbacks. I think that's the separator, is actually learning from them, just looking as them as stepping stones, like not as a failure. You're not a failure if you're listening to this. Just because you made a mistake, just because you made a failure, tomorrow's a new day, right? This too shall pass is what I tell myself. So it's just a stepping stone. And so I would highly encourage you to see these challenges, setbacks, failures, whatever you want to call them, as just a natural part of growth and not a reason to quit, to throw in the towel. And instead, reframe the mindset. Put the meaning of failure, as my best friend calls it, data. It's just data. It's just a stepping stone to get to where you want to go, brick by brick. And I want to share a Michael Jordan quote. Michael Jordan says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Life can be lonely on the road of becoming the best version of yourself, 0.01% better than you were yesterday. And what I have found is it doesn't have to be. So surrounding yourself with a best friend or a business partner or a friend or a neighbor that wants to level up and live their best life, from my experience, is the best method to go about it, because it's too many times we throw out the terminology iron sharpens iron. But when you really think about it and you have that accountability partner to help you develop and shed the light on those blind spots, because it's not if, but when you get to where you want to go, day by day, by making those small incremental progress. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Well, in 18 months ago, 2 years now, when I called up four guys that I respected over the years in business, I said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of a mastermind group?" They all said yes. We got in this group. Fast forward several months. I remember us having a conversation, sitting across at Summer Moon, drinking our coffee, you sitting across the chair from me, and making a comment on accountability. And you said, we need to find a way, we need to hold each other accountable. And immediately my ego and pride threw up a wall and said, I don't need to be held accountable. Looking back and reflecting on that, boy, was I wrong, because we all need accountability. We all need to understand in mindset that frame. We all have imperfections. We all have room for growth. And that ego, because that ego and pride to a certain degree was blinding me of my blind spots, and reflecting back, realizing that that comment that you made to me empowers me every day to search for accountability. I ask questions. How was the podcast? How was the episode? Hey, how was this meeting today? What advice would you give me moving forward? So now I want to be intentional about accountability and open up myself for constructive feedback, for advice. Whether I take it or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just collecting it as data, because that's what's going to allow me to be 0.01% better every single day, by understanding that it's from different perspectives of people who I know, like, and trust, or even if I don't know them. And so by doing this, this is what's going to be those small incremental challenges. And I challenge you listening to this to find accountability partner or a group, like a mastermind group or a coaching program, or your neighbor or a friend who wants to grow together and help each other stay consistent and motivated over time. And I know Ewan can probably attest to this. Every time somebody's around me and Ewan, whether it's at a coffee shop, food, restaurant, podcast, a wedding here recently, we always gravitate towards each other, because we're always being intentional about how can we level up and live our best life, point zero 0.01 today. And how do we impact and serve more people? And by being a role model, a father, a business partner, an officiator, because that is what makes the impact in our households, in our businesses, in our relationships, is by focusing and being intentional and holding each other accountable. Ewan, what's your thoughts on that? Yes. Yep. 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 Right. Yep. And so one of the things that I wanted to shift gears on is what are some practical ways to implement this 0.01% progress. And you and I want you to share your thoughts on this. But one of the things that I've applied in my life is a story that I'm about to share that I feel like would be super valuable for our listeners. And I know it was for one of my right hand mans, one of my team members. And so we were driving down to an Astros game a little over a month ago with one of my top team members, and we were just talking. And he loves to travel, and I love to travel, and he was sharing with me some of his goals and where he wanted to travel. And so one of those places that he wanted to travel to was Antarctica. Well, as soon as he said this, I said, "Well, tell me more, because that sounds intriguing. Antarctica sounds like a blast." And then he says it was a 3-week cruise. And so I said, 3-week cruise. I said, that sounds awesome. The most I've ever done is a 7 to 10 day cruise. And I'm sitting here thinking, 3-week cruise, that sounds awesome. And so immediately I'm like, holy cow, what's the cost of that being gone for 3 weeks? That 36%, right, is popping in my mind. But I immediately I started listening to his story. I said, well, what's the cost of that? And he goes, $25,000. And he said that was his 3-year goal. And immediately I applied what I had learned and what we're sharing today on today's podcast is, well, who do I need to become? And what does that look like if I break down that big goal into smaller, achievable steps? Let's work backwards. 0.01% progress, right? Think small, manageable task. And I said, well, what would it take to do to do that cruise in a year and a half? So 18 months. Forward think, backwards plan. $25,000 divided by 18 months. We just broke it down in the truck on the way to the Astros game. And immediately we started breaking this down, and he started lifting up in his chair and connecting the dots of the progress and who he needed to become to what he needed to set aside per month to travel to Antarctica in half the time. And so the reason I share this story is because when you break things down, because most people, if you're me, I'm hearing 25,000, 3-year goal. That's so far off, Ewan. So far off. And most we don't reach that. But then when we dial it back and divide, well, what if we do it in half the time and divide that by 18 months? And then and I haven't done the math on that, but let's say you got your calculator? 25 divided by 18, $1,390 a month that he would need to budget per month to do that, to go in a year and a half. The point of this is it makes it realistic. We went from $25,000, which we mostly stopped there, versus the 0.01% progress in dividing that goal up into $1,300 per month. And if you're listening to this, that's either a grocery bill for a household of 4, or that's, half a dozen restaurants out to eat for 2 people. But my point is by thinking and reframing the mindset to 0.01% progress per day or per month in this situation, it will allow you to put a game plan together to forward think and backwards plan. And then here's the key ingredient. You ready for this? We're all going to be 3 years older, a year and a half older. And you're going to pick your head up in a year and a half and look back and go, I'm so grateful that I took action, keyword action, on budgeting that $1,300, because now I'm about to go sail on a cruise for 3 weeks in Antarctica. So there's the version of you that is grateful, appreciative, because that person took action in that 0.01% progress, or is the version of you says, nope, that's $25,000, that's 3 weeks away, and doesn't work on it because you're looking at it from the 36% progress and it's too big to chew. Instead, you broke it down, and now you didn't break it down, so that version of you doesn't get to where you want to go because you decided not to look at the small incremental progresses. Yep. Mm. Yes. Yep. Yes. Mm. Yep. 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 Mm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I know, right? So if you're listening to this, here is the call to action. Take action today in your own life. Put that belief to it, like Ewan said, game plan, clarity, whether you're at 0.01% or 10% progress. Stay consistent with intentional effort, which is the key to leveling up and living your best life the right way. Level up and live.